Welcome to today's video, where we test the $850,000 retirement myth and ask whether it's enough to retire early. To set the stage, we'll focus on cash flow, not just savings totals, and we'll connect each concept step by step. By the end, you'll know how to evaluate your income gap, healthcare costs, and timing strategies for Social Security and pensions. Let's begin by outlining our roadmap so you can follow along clearly. Here's our agenda to keep things structured. First, we'll compare the myth to the math. Next, we'll cover critical variables like the income bridge, healthcare before Medicare, and expense accuracy. Then, we'll break down tactics to build your bridge, examine housing and debt, and look at tools and safety nets. Finally, we'll test your understanding with quick quizzes and end with actionable takeaways. Let's move into the myth versus the math. Now let's separate the myth from reality. While $850,000 is a significant sum, early retirement success depends on the income that portfolio can sustainably generate. Therefore, instead of relying on the comfort of a large balance, we must convert that balance into safe, inflation-aware cash flow. With that perspective, let's run the numbers using the traditional 4% rule as a starting benchmark. Let's quantify. Using the traditional 4% safe withdrawal rate, $850,000 would produce roughly $34,000 per year of sustainable withdrawals. If your target spending is $96,000 per year, that creates an annual shortfall of about $62,000. Consequently, the math reveals a substantial funding gap. This is why relying on a headline savings number can be misleading. Cash flow is what pays the bills. Therefore, any early retirement plan must explain precisely how to cover that gap, especially before guaranteed income sources begin. Next, let's capture these numbers in a concise snapshot. Here's a quick snapshot of the key numbers. The portfolio is $850,000. The 4% withdrawal rate creates approximately $34,000 per year, or about $2,833 per month. The expense target is $96,000 per year, or $8,000 per month. Therefore, the annual gap is $62,000. Which translates to about $5,167 per month. With that clear picture, we can now analyze the critical variables that determine whether an early retirement is feasible. 3 variables dominate early retirement success. First, the income bridge. Plan how you will fund the period before Social Security and pension benefits begin, considering options like penalty-free access in certain employer plans, the rule of 55 for some 401k plans, or governmental 457B access. Second, healthcare before Medicare at 65 can be the largest surprise expense. Premiums, deductibles, and the Affordable Care Act subsidy cliffs require careful modeling. Third, expense accuracy is crucial. Confirm whether a paid-off home meaningfully reduces housing costs, and remain vigilant about lifestyle creep, such as more travel or rising insurance premiums. Finally, eliminate all consumer debt to reduce required cash flow. Now let's design the bridge itself. To construct the income bridge, begin by mapping key ages: your retirement date, potential pension start, Medicare eligibility at 65, and the Social Security window from 67 to 70. Next, identify which accounts you can access without penalties, such as governmental 457B plans, certain 401k plans under the rule of 55, and taxable brokerage accounts. Then, sequence withdrawals to minimize taxes and to maintain health insurance subsidies where possible. Afterward, stress test your plan by modeling poor market returns in the first year, or expenses running 10% higher than expected. Finally, review your bridge annually, adjusting contributions, spending levels, or adding part-time work if needed. With the bridge sketched, let's visualize the decision flow. This flowchart summarizes your decision path. If your annual expenses are less than or equal to the $34,000 produced by a 4% withdrawal, your plan may be sustainable, pending further testing. If your expenses exceed that income, then identify and sequence bridge sources. This can include penalty-free distributions from certain accounts, spousal or part-time earnings, and strategic timing of pensions and Social Security. After updating your gap, evaluate taxes and the impact on healthcare subsidies. Then stress test for market volatility and longevity risk. Based on results, adjust spending, timing, or consider annuity options. Next, let's address the healthcare reality before Medicare. Before age 65, private health insurance can become the largest single expense in early retirement. Be cautious with Affordable Care Act subsidies, as they can phase out abruptly if your income crosses certain thresholds, which is why withdrawal sequencing matters. Model not just premiums, but also deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums, and network quality. If available, leverage a health savings account for tax-advantaged medical saving. With healthcare in mind, let's compare budgets with and without a paid-off home. Let's compare housing scenarios. With a paid-off home, monthly cash outflow is reduced, but you still face property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. This structure can free cash flow for healthcare costs or other priorities. Renting, by contrast, delivers flexibility and avoids maintenance surprises. But rent may escalate over time, increasing your long-term expense base. Therefore, quantify the all-in cost for both options and incorporate realistic increases for taxes, insurance, and rent. Now let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: using a 4% withdrawal rate, approximately how much annual income does an $850,000 portfolio generate? Options: $34,000, $68,000, $96,000, or $120,000. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is $34,000. Because 4% of $850,000 equals $34,000. This simple calculation frames the size of your income gap and determines whether you must build an income bridge. Next, let's reinforce another key concept: healthcare costs before Medicare. Question: before Medicare begins at 65, which expense often surprises early retirees the most? Options: travel costs, health insurance premiums, entertainment, or property taxes. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is health insurance premiums. Coverage prior to Medicare can be expensive, and small increases in income may reduce subsidies dramatically, raising total costs. With quizzes complete, let's look at tools and scenarios to pressure test your plan. Use robust retirement calculators that account for inflation, sequence of returns risk, and the timing of income sources such as pensions and Social Security. Run several scenarios, including an early bear market, increased healthcare costs, and lifestyle creep. Review the resulting success probabilities and the portfolio's drawdown path. Iterate inputs until your plan reaches a probability of success consistent with your risk tolerance, such as 80 to 90% or higher. With tools in hand, let's talk about longevity safety nets and phasing strategies. This phase diagram shows how retirement evolves. First is accumulation. Then, early retirement begins when salary stops, followed by the bridge years, often from 60 to 63. Medicare enrollment occurs at 65, leading to a steadier full retirement phase. Much later, longevity risk becomes the key challenge. To mitigate that risk, consider delaying Social Security to increase lifetime, inflation-adjusted income, or evaluate appropriate annuity options, while carefully reviewing fees and guarantees. Maintain optional levers such as part-time work, spending adjustments, or downsizing to preserve flexibility. Now let's crystallize the main takeaways. Here are the key points. First, $850,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate equals about $34,000 per year. Compare that income to your actual spending. Second, if expenses exceed that figure, build an income bridge using accessible accounts. Third, healthcare before Medicare can dominate costs, so model subsidies and optimize withdrawal sequencing. Fourth, own your expense estimate, including insurance, taxes, travel, and eliminate all consumer debt. Fifth, use robust calculators and stress tests, and adjust timing to improve success probabilities. Finally, mitigate longevity risk by delaying Social Security or evaluating appropriate annuities. To summarize, savings alone do not constitute a retirement plan. Sustainable cash flow does. Quantify your income gap and sequence withdrawals in a tax-aware way that also accounts for healthcare subsidies. Healthcare and longevity are the largest swing factors, so plan for both carefully. Finally, revisit your plan annually and maintain flexibility with spending, work options, and housing. Before we close, let's include a brief disclaimer. Important disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, legal, or healthcare advice. Your situation is unique, and you should consult qualified professionals before implementing any strategy. Assumptions such as withdrawal rates, returns, inflation, subsidies, and healthcare costs can vary significantly. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with someone planning an early retirement, and subscribe for more content. In the comments, share your target retirement age, your current savings approach, and the biggest concern you want help solving. Let's continue the conversation and build better bridges together.